Hello and welcome back to this edition of Daily Actives brought to you by Bootleg Macro. I'm Dustin. We are looking at Palantir once again, and here we go for $20 because the future is very bright for Palantir, and it looks like the price of $20, considering that we closed at $19.99 today, and this doesn't bring in after hours pricing, so it probably went over in after hours, is incredible to see. I can see right now that we've essentially flipped back to completely bullish. We are still positive on the 1 day, 5 day, 15 day, 1 month, 3 month, and 6 month returns. We've now gotten an officially a go long signal in the short term, on the intermediate term, and the longer term again. We did flip completely bullish, shaking off any of that bearish sentiment that we've seen recently in price action for the short term, intermediate term, and longer term, continuing tomorrow, which is very positive to see. It looks like we are still getting what appears to be a falling bear and rolling sentiment, which means that the bullish sentiment is being overtaken by the bearish sentiment. Now, when you think about bullish and bearishness, it is essentially the way that yin and yang works. So it needs to be essentially in balance in the market. Obviously, a supply imbalance means that the price is going to fall. Obviously, a demand imbalance means that the price is going to rise. Now, when we're looking at this graph down here, the blue, or the green, is actually the demand. The red is the supply. You can see that it looks like demand is winning once again, even though it looks like we are still at a lower level probably than we were back here, because we were at 68% bullishness, or 66% or 67%, but now we're at 64%. So in a weird way, you can fall in your bullishness while feeling very oversold, while still having more overbought, while still having much more demand to come into your market. That's what Palantir is showing, because Palantir is one of those stocks that has captured the imagination of not just retail, but institutional now, and it's getting pumped on CNBC. And you just can't doubt the fact that the media machine, if enough people, it's even on in the background, are going to just subconsciously fall into the fact that, you know what, I should look at Palantir. My buddy made a bunch of money. The guy on TV said he made a bunch of money. Why don't I try to make a bunch of money? And that is how prices get bid up when they are already overbought. We can see here in the daily sentiment indicator, no different than what we looked at before. The other one was more of an ultra fast. This is just a longer term one. We can see we're at 66%, which again is still lower than the prices that we were, or at least the bullishness that we were at the end of May, middle of June. And one thing I want to call out here is we're looking at the daily. If we shift over and look at the weekly here, what's most remarkable to me is that the weekly sentiment of Palantir right now has actually gotten more in line. It's only at 51%. This is going to be through, and this is a bad representation because I think, I see what it is. So there isn't enough data to necessarily show up on where we are in Palantir. So Palantir is actually, if we look down here at the dates, Palantir is actually at 70% on the weekly. Okay, ignore the green back here. This is just filling in because the algorithm can continue, because it is an aggregate of the amount of data, so it can continue to make its own aggregate from the end of the data. But we are getting there. It will eventually populate as Palantir becomes an older stock in the market with my data set. Now, when we're looking at the volume here for Palantir, we do see that we're getting not really a big resumption of volume, which means that, and I would say this is a positive thing, you're not seeing the crazy fervor in the market as it's breaking out to higher highs. It is a little overbought in terms of where the bullish sentiment is, but when things get excited, you can be insane. You should look at Tesla's sentiment chart, which you should watch my other video. I'm sure I'll cover Tesla today. But when we're looking specifically at what we have for volume, we can see that we probably have higher amounts of volume to come in the future. And that usually will portend that we are going to get higher prices, and aggressively higher prices. And this leads us right into volatility, because the volatility here in the red bar and the correlation to price in the blue bar, essentially what it's saying is that volatility is breaking out as the price is going higher, and the correlation to price is rising with it. So you would expect, or what we would expect from this situation would be that we would see prices gap higher. We would expect that right now, which we just did, but we would expect to see more of them in the future, because the volatility is saying that the type of behavior that the stock is exhibiting is 3, 4, 5 standard deviations above what you should be expecting. I mean, when you see the price with red lettering with a white background, that means it's already 3 standard deviations above. I don't calculate 4 or 5 or 6 standard deviations. I just say over 3. This thing could easily be at 4 or 5 standard deviations above where it was, considering that only a few months ago this thing was trading around $7, and now it's touching 20. Those types of moves, you can't really get in front of them. The only thing you can pray is that you're holding onto the rocket ship and you're riding up higher. Because if you're short, this could be the beginning of the end of your account, your job. I mean, maybe your marriage, but I wish you nothing but the best. I think the way that the stock is moving, it's a clear uptrend. It is in a clear, aggressive demand cycle where people want to buy this. Even on the longer term, this is the weekly non-sentiment based trade range. Even on the longer term, it looks like that we could weekly go up to $20.35. I mean, we're going to get pretty close right now. This is only updated through last Friday, so it doesn't update until the close of the week. I think we can find higher prices in Palantir, probably probably going to eventually break out above that 35 and touch all-time highs. I would not be surprised at all, because the type of moves that we're seeing. I mean, when you say that a pullback in bullishness in a stock brings it down to 55% bullish, like it's did on the 26th of July in my data, that shows you that the bullishness is not. It is the market. It is not a catalyst driven thing. This is a change. But tell me what you think in the comments below. Are you long or are you short? Do you like it? Do you love it? Is it even a good review? Before you go, subscribe to the New High newsletter. bootlegmacro.beehive.com/subscribe. Get 25 stocks sent to your inbox on Sunday.